외교통일상임위원회에 있는 동안에 단 한 번도 유크레인 워에 대해서 그 위원회 차원에서 공식적으로 의견이 오고 간 적이 없습니다. 물론 외교부 장관이 나오기는 하지만 거기에 뭐 질문을 하거나 그런 사람도 없었고요. 뭐 얼마 전에도 그 미국에서 도청 사건 관련해서 공식적으로 이제 간접적으로 확인된 것이 우리가 폴란드를 통해서 간접적으로 포탄 지원을 하는 그 정도가 나왔지 않습니까? 그런 간접 지원 형태를 띠지 공식적으로 이렇게 그 이슈를 레이즈 해가지고 국회 공식적인 그 승인을 받기가 지금은 어려운 상황. 과연 이 정도로 한국이 그 인발부하고 간접 지원을 하는 게 과연 충분한 것인지 그런 것에 대한 의견을 좀 듣고 싶고요.
The government mentioned several times that we, South Korea, is going to give you some humanitarian assistance, and at the same time we are going to support the budgetary assistance to Ukraine government. At the same time, of course, South Korea is pretty much interested to help you build the infrastructure, and afterward we are going to participate the restoration of Ukraine. But at this very moment, I'm wondering what kind of a humanitarian assistance is needed. Our government allocate $100 million, but I think personally it's not enough. So we have to raise more funds to help the Ukraine.
About the aid and assistance, by the way, a couple of months ago, I joined the interparliamentary friendship group from Ukrainian side with the Korea. I know a couple of my colleagues traveled to Korea to start negotiations and start understanding each other deeper and closer. Start the communication, which has to be closer between the parliamentarians. And again, I'm ready to share and to send documents or papers which can be for you more wider to understand what's going on. And of course, we are ready to invite you. I know that it's impossible to explain the worst things with the hands.
한국 의원님들하고 좀 이렇게 교류가 시작돼서 이쪽에서 이제 어떻게 도와줄 수 있는가 좀 본격적인 논의가 시작되었으면 좋겠습니다.
Parliamentary diplomacy is very important. It's something which is also a gesture of solidarity. So we would be delighted to help to bring a strong delegation from South Korea to come to Kyiv. This is very much needed. Russia knows that once Ukraine becomes fully functioning democracy member of EU, this will completely change dynamics in the region. So my suggestion would be, Ukraine is your natural partner. Ukraine can learn a lot from South Korea, but South Korea can also see a potential major European tiger coming up. And your support to Ukraine, your investment in Ukraine, investment in good governance, support humanitarian, support to anti-corruption reforms, is just like Olena said. It's not only a right thing, but it's also a smart thing to do for South Korean business. Ukraine is a new European tiger, and you definitely want to be their closest ally, and you want to support them with your technology, with your innovation. I would also suggest, Ukraine also needs support to enormous and growing number of veterans. We are anticipating 2 to 3 million veterans. And, I would definitely suggest many of them are coming from a front line with a lot of innovation, new technology. You could offer a lot of scholarships to universities in South Korea to invest in this enormous group of people who are passionate, who are innovative, who are committed to freedom and democracy.
결국은 언젠가는 나올 수밖에 없는 종전 또는 지금 이 휴전에 대한 조건의 문제인데요. 결국 이것은 아마 나토나 EU 국가들의 우크라이나 지원 여력과도 관련이 있을 것이고 또는 중국과 러시아 간의 밀착의 정도와도 관련이 있을 겁니다. 우크라이나와 러시아 어느 쪽도 원래 지금 전쟁에서 이루고 있는 베스트 골을 달성하지 못한 상황에서 전쟁이 잠시 중단되거나 종결될 가능성이 매우 커지고 있는데요. 우크라이나 국내에서 생각하는 만약에 지금 휴전이나 종전을 선택해야 된다면 다른 거는 다 여러 가지가 이것만은 반드시 양보할 수 없다라는 조건이 있을 거예요. 결과적으로 나토나 EU의 가입과 같은 지금 현 정책의 변화와도 관련이 있을 겁니다.
이 유크레인 워가 굉장히 기나긴 전쟁이 될 것 같다. 그리고 이것의 승패는 이 연합군 측과 러시아 중에서 누가 먼저 포기를 하느냐에 달려 있다. 끝까지 이렇게 서로 대치 국면으로 굉장히 장기전으로 가기보다는 오히려 도중에 유엔이 중재하거나 해서 휴전할 수 있는 그런 가능성, 거기에 대해서는 저 현지에서는 어떻게 생각하시는지.
Both and not even both, the mood of the Ukrainians shows that we are not ready to negotiate, to start any conversation, to any negotiations with Russians. That's why we pay so much attention to the front line. We have to be prepared, and the only one guarantee that goes for the last question about the EU and NATO track. The only side of the guarantees can be the joining the NATO, and we hope that the NATO summit in Vilnius this July will finally show us their readiness to see us, even despite some kinds of the conditions. But that's the way we are looking at what we need, and actually what we eager and ready, and what the poll shows, more than 80% or more than even 90% of Ukrainians, they are ready and they want to join NATO. That's the only one solution for years and years. We will joining Ukraine to NATO. That will be one of the options which will exclude the gray zone, the buffer zone, and finally will draw the new map, geopolitical map, which Russia will now is trying to rebuild, yes, and to shape.
We have to understand that this is not just the war between two countries. This is the war of dictators against the world order. And the goal is to destroy the world order and to bring the way how this war ends will send a signal to other dictators with regards to what will be their future behavior. Because as we are saying that, hey, democratic countries are getting tired, this war is too expensive for them, authoritarian regimes are on the contrary. As time passes, they are more and more united. Take a look, Russia started fighting on their own, then they engaged Iran in sending them drones. Then they engaged North Korea with the ammunition. Now they are having negotiations with China, and we still do not know to which extent China is supporting Russia with the material. If this continues to be as the protracted war, for Russia, it would be more easy to get other dictators on board, because other dictators would understand that, hey, if Russia is not defeated in Ukraine, this opens the doors for any similar activities of these countries in the region. And this will have the domino effect on the world order, unfortunately. It's incredibly important to finish this job right now when Russia is much, much weaker, because they will learn the lesson. They will understand that corruption in their defense sector is their vulnerability. We have to finish the job right now. We have to put autocracies back in their place and convey the message that democracies and world order would be defended, protected for the sake of entire world.
최근에 시진핑 주석이 우크라이나 전쟁의 그 종전에 대한 중재 역할을 자임하고 나섰는데, 그리고 젤렌스키 대통령께서도 시진핑 주석하고의 그 대화 의사를 밝혔는데, 그런 중국에 대한 우크라이나 시각은 어떤지도 말씀해 주시면 도움이 될 것 같습니다.
So first of all, President Zelensky didn't receive any proposals from the Chinese side to be a moderator or whatever, or proposals to meet. But still, Ukrainian side made a proposal for China from President Zelensky to meet with the Xi Jinping. Still waiting for that response, and we ask the first thing President Zelensky mentioned, that this each plan has to be written on the basis on respecting the sovereignty of the state, and Zelensky now is ready and he's eager and he's trying, and we are trying as the part of the big state team to make this invitation happen, and they actually talk to be happen. That's the first point, and the second, unfortunately, probably you've seen that day or 2 days ago, it was the meeting with Putin, the Minister of Defense, Chinese Defense. He traveled to Moscow and he had the meeting with Putin. From our side, we feel deep concern on that, and I think that's the shows for the rest of the world, a big sign about their readiness in cooperation and really deep cooperation. Unfortunately, especially seeing how many details in the military weaponry, they are Russian weaponry, and especially UAVs they are using produced in China. So we are open to any, and going back to Asian states, we are ready to communicate, to meet, to work. We are actually asking Asian states to work closer with us.
Korean government is supporting Ukraine mainly for humanitarian assistance. We already disbursed $100 million last year, but also this year we committed $100 million. And also we are preparing ourselves to start the project as soon as after the war is ended, but still we are waiting. And if we cannot be sure that this war be ended, or in other words, if we are not sure that domestic conflict is there, then that there is a possibility to face bad situation in the future. One concern that if we are supporting government in some part deemed corrupted, then how we can ensure that we are not make possible hazard by falling aid to feed existing corruption of the government. So I taking this opportunity ask some advice for foreign partners how to keep the safeguard to support the Ukrainian government for humanitarian assistance and development.
I would not worry about supporting corrupt government, because government of Ukraine is not corrupted. We might be dealing with the cases of individual corruption, but Ukraine has shown that it knows how to deal with systemic corruption. One challenge, but I think we see it in many democracies, is I am so grateful that Solomiia is here. We need to have a closer dialogue between think tanks and politicians, because Ukrainian think tanks are among the best in the world. They are producing a lot of reports. They are just hesitant to sometimes get engaged in a proper advocacy with politicians to make sure that those reforms are implemented. And as always, the implementation is the challenge. But I would like to make sure that, Madam Chair, this is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And I volunteer to organize on behalf of my colleagues in Kyiv another discussion like this one in the next few months, where we can come up with a list of topics and concrete suggestions.
You are supporting a very brave nation and not corrupt government. And Ukrainian government is put in the stance where it will be fighting against corruption. because there is a huge demand from the side of Ukrainian society, and there is huge demand from the side of international partners, who is the biggest donor. So, we call this sandwich effect, when Ukrainian government is in between, and from two different sides, society and international partners are putting pressure and making them do the real reforms and prioritize fighting against corruption. The problem is how it is handled and how it is managed. And if you take a look at the recent few corruption scandals which we had in Ukraine a few months ago, you can make following conclusions. First of all, civil society watchdogs are working, even despite the fact that this is the wartime. That's plus. Anti-corruption agencies are operational, also despite the wartime. This is also a sign of a maturing democracy. And the way how Ukrainian government addressed these corruption scandals is also a positive sign, because those people were dismissed from the government. The level of demand for justice in Ukrainian society is so high that the previous practices won't be tolerated. That is why I'm, again, pretty optimistic with regards to fight against corruption. It just needs time.
굉장히 어려운 일종의 그 전시 상황인데도 민주주의가 펑션을 할 수 있구나. 지금 이렇게 말씀을 주셔서 그 전 세계 민주주의가 쇠퇴하고 있다라고 하는 게 일반적인 의견인데, 가장 어려운 조건에서도 민주주의가 그게 반부패가 됐든 아니면 다른 형태가 됐든 개혁을 하고 그런 펑션을 하고 있다는 게 굉장히 그 인상적이었고요. 이 정도로 글로벌한 차원에서 굉장히 중요한 지금 전쟁이 치러지고 있는데, 이게 단순히 두 국가 사이, 아까 말씀 주신 대로 두 국가 사이의 전쟁뿐만 아니라 일종의 권위주의와 민주주의라고 하는 가치대 가치의 차원에서도 굉장히 중차대한 문제인데, 한국의 국회에서 특히나 외통위에서는 이 문제에 대해서 아직까지 공식적으로 토론한 바가 없다라고 말씀 주신 것도 굉장히 인상적이었습니다. 전시 민주주의에 헌신하고 계시는 분들과 한국과 같이 전 세계의 민주주의의 일종의 power of example을 보여줄 수 있는 나라 사이에 아직까지는 거리가 있고 갭이 있는 것 같습니다. 그래서 이런 프로그램들을 통해서 좀 그런 갭을 줄일 수 있으면 좋을 것 같고요.